4. YouTube is filled with videos such as 10 things poor people do that the rich don't, or 15 things rich people do that the poor don't, or something along those lines. Many of them are quite interesting and fun to watch, but I don't really explain the difference. Do you really think that the difference between the rich and the poor? Rich dad, poor people watch more TV, or rich people shower more often? Neither do I. If you suddenly start showering more often, watching less TV, you're not going to get rich, because the real difference is in the mentality, the way they play the game of money. And in this video we are going to take a look at 8 things the poor people do that are keeping them cool. Number 1. April Plate Defense. If you want to play any game strictly on defense, what are the chances of you winning that game? Extremely low, or not right, and yet most people play the game of money exactly alike. That their primary goal is not to win or to be at the top of the list, but rather not to lose. They just want to pay all the bills and stay out of debt. The problem with the strategy is that when your goal is to simply be above the water, that's maximum, which you will get. Of course, some people a little better than that. They save 10% of their income invested in the stock market and just hope that the stock market doesn't collapse, so that when they get old they will have something to rely on, but until then they'll be locked into the comfort zone of a small paycheck. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but if your goal is to simply pay the bills, you'll just stay wherever you are. If you want to create a real wealth, you should stop playing defense and start playing offense and shoot for the stars. As a wise man once said, if you shoot for the stars you will at least have the moon. Next, poor people do not value freedom. When I say freedom, I do not mean living in a democracy or not. Freedom means living the life that you want and not the one that someone else wants you to live. Doing what you want, how you want, and where you want. That's what you find. A lot of people say money isn't important. Don't make your life. Doing what you want, how you want, and where you want. That's what you find. A lot of people say money isn't important. Don't make your life all about money, or the most famous one of them, money is the root of all evil. I need to find those people working all of their life from morning to evening for some pennies just to keep the bill collectors away from their houses, doing the job that they wish they can quit, not only because they hate their job, but also they probably hate their boss, and if they had the opportunity they would quit the job. That's exactly why money equals freedom. So how do you expect yourself to chase money if you look at it as something negative? Rich people keep getting richer because it gives it even more freedom to do with their lives whatever they want. Number 34. People work hard for their money. It's always a bit controversial. I think you're supposed to work hard for your money. Let me explain. What do most people do if they want to make more money? They work harder to get promoted, and if that's not enough they might consider working overtime or getting a second job. The problem with this is that no matter how much you're paid, at the end of the day your time is limited, and the rich people perfectly understand that. So instead of working hard for their money, they let their money work hard for them. They look good money as a tool that can earn them even more money, and not simply a piece of paper they can use to buy whatever they want like most people treat money. Of course, everyone will probably first have to work hard for their money, but it's temporary for the rich while it's permanent for the poor. What should make enough where your money can replace you? You will have more freedom. New people focus on obstacles. One of my friends wants to start a chain of restaurants. In fact, he's been telling me that for the last 3 or 4 years, but every time and ask him why he hasn't started yet, his typical response is, I don't have the money, I don't want to get into that. And that's the problem. People are constantly looking for something to go wrong in this. For years he could have fallen and invested with, please saved up enough to start. He hasn't even studied the market. He doesn't even have a plan. He believes that if he gets the money the rest will somehow magically happen. But what will end up happening is that he will just come across another obstacle that will stop him. It doesn't matter what business you want to get to, there will always be obstacles. There are millions of things that could possibly go wrong, and if you're like my friend who isn't doing anything but complaining about how difficult things are, you're probably in the same dark financial position that he is. Some people have taken this to a different level. Even if they have the money and all the essentials, they always say things such as, what if it doesn't work? What if people are going to know that I have failed? For God's sake, no one cares. More people choose to be paid based on time. How often do you hear people say, I deserve to be paid $50 an hour or $60 an hour? I have a degree from such and such school. I work harder than anyone else. I'm smarter than, more talented. You know what no one is done. Would you watch this video? Because I have spent so always creating it. What matters at the end of the day is that how much you can deliver. You might be working harder than Jeff Bezos, but Bezos will be making $4-5 million an hour, and you won't, because while you're complaining, his company's providing value to millions of people all around the globe. Poor people resin rich and successful people. The other day I was watching an interview with a successful and quite famous entrepreneur. Then I scrolled down to read some of the comments, and a lot of people were like, "This douchebag doesn't deserve to be on this channel. He's a scumbag," and something like that. Alex really freaked me out. The guy who worked hard to be in that position, even if he has inherited some of his wealth, is probably much more disciplined than you. Some people seem to have some kind of moral obligation to hate the top 1% over certain rich families. Here is a life hack: instead of hating them, whole ball to join them. People think they know everything. This is the most ridiculous one. What do people do when they face financial problems? They complain about it. There are a Brazilian number of things you can blame, starting from politicians that run the country and ending it with your boss. But if you tell him to pick up a book and learn even the basics of money management, he will tell you, this is my money and I know how to take care of it. Well, if you have figured everything out, why is Earth and you always broke? And then they will give you even more excuses. And it's not only about money but everything else. Haven't you realized that when people get into an argument, they try to prove that they're right even if they're not, instead of trying to learn and to be honest? I've had this mentality back when he was a teenager. I was quite stubborn, but then I realized that if I keep going like this, I am never going to grow. So I stopped acting like I know everything and started paying attention to my flows and how can I fix them. People mismanage their money. Knowing how to manage money isn't something you were born with, but rather you have to learn it. Just because you're making money doesn't mean you know how to manage it properly. Problem is that people think that if they start managing their money, it would restrict their freedom. They don't want to stick to a certain budget. Think hard before buying something they finally got their paycheck and now they want to enjoy it. But the truth is, if you do not manage your money, you will never achieve financial independence, and that's short-term feeling of malsatisfaction isn't real freedom. And secondly, people think that you need to make a lot of money to manage it. Trust me, it gets way more difficult than you think. I use the codes even handle your paycheck properly. Do you really think you can manage 10 times that amount? By now you probably already have realized that what makes poor people really poor is a poor mentality, and not having money is one of the consequences of that. The good news is that you can change your